Hello, folks. Welcome once again to the Human Music live stream. This is day 4. I'm trying to do songs in less than 3 days, but I don't know. I keep getting uh, caught up in trying to do more to the songs, being a bit of a perfectionist. Also, I'm hanging out with people in the chat and interacting and taking suggestions and also sharing, talking about my process, and that all adds to the time it takes to make a song. I pride myself in being a practical and fast producer. Hi, Breeze. Good to see you here, man. I'm glad you were able to join today. Hope other of the people from your what is it, Discord. I hope they can join as well and check out the the dub mix that we're gonna do today. We finished most of the song yesterday, all of the instrument, all of the takes, most of the edit, most of the mix, and what the thing that I couldn't finish yesterday was the part that has been most eagerly anticipated by a lot of my audience. I been mostly known on YouTube for many years as synth DIY guy. I went from building little oscillators on breadboard and stuff to doing tutorials on Eurorack kits to eventually doing official uh, instructional videos for already fabricated gear, mostly for Eric synths. But I've always been really a producer and composer since the year 2000. I was hired at a commercial studio in Brazil and began my journey. I had already gone to music school in the States. I was already fairly trained as a bassist, keyboardist, percussionist, um, and but my producing career really well. It started a few years earlier. About 1998 was when I finished music school and got some gear to start trying to produce my own songwriter demo. Um, and then but even before then, from my very beginning as a musician, about when I was 13, 14, I started studying keyboards. I already had, along with my first keyboard, I got a Tascam 4-track tape recorder. And I was one of the few kids in my neighborhood in Santos in Brazil who had any way of recording a band. So a lot of local bands would ask me to use my little 4-track to record their little demos for battles of the bands and things like that. So it's always been, producing has always been running in parallel and happening in tandem with my musical development. Um, you were inspired to do a live stream today. Told the viewers I'd be watching your dub mix today. Cool. Cool, man. Yeah, live streaming is fun. It kind of revived my engagement with YouTube and my audience and stuff because I started getting after 7 years running the Synth DIY Guy channel. Eventually, it got eaten up by my official artist channel, Kinkas Morera Music, which I don't think was necessarily a good thing. I think I alienated a lot of my original audience when that happened. They started seeing Kinkas Moreira composer content when they were used to seeing more specific things to their interest, which is Euro Rack and Synth DIY. And I'm sorry about that. I'm actually trying to get YouTube to separate the channels again so that I'll have the good old Synth DIY guy channel on its own and then the Kinkas Moreira music channel be my official artist channel that's more connected to my work as a composer for the YouTube audio library and others. And anyway, but for now, it's all kind of jumbled together. And I'm doing all everything that I do in one single channel. It might be a little confusing for some viewers, but that's what it is for now. Anyway, um, don't want to jibber jabber too much. We have a dub box here that I put together, Eurorack. So this is going to be interesting again to my original audience, which is the synth people, because the way I view Eurorack nowadays is I'm no longer so obsessed with it. I went through a period where it was really my main thing. My main interest was assembling and learning and creating with modular synthesizers. And nowadays, the synthesizer kind of fell in its place as one of the many resources that I have available to compose music with in my studio, which include, as you can see in the back there, a acoustic marimba. There's a full drum set. I spent a couple years really practicing drums to get decent enough to be able to do those things, do takes of acoustic drums. I have a couple of keyboard over here, the Hydrosynth on the bottom, the Yamaha Reface. Here's my Yamaha CK1. There's a couple other things over there on the couch. My instrument. Oh, you say I'm a great drummer? Thank you, the Invisible Man. I appreciate the compliment. I'm trying. I'm trying to get better at it. I've actually been playing drums for a long time, but it was never my main instrument. So I never went through that phase of, like drummers usually in high school they go through drum corps where they learn the rudiments and they play in the high school jazz band and then they go to. I didn't go through all of that. I went through that as a bassist. So my drumming was always kind of so-so throughout the 20 or more years that I've been playing until a few couple years ago when I really I said, "Oh man, drums are the best. I'm gonna be a drummer," And I took a couple of years to really practice and took some lessons and bought cymbals and I did go up um, a couple of steps in the ladder towards being a more proficient and professional drummer. Hold on, I've got a jumble of wires here with my headphones. Sorry about that, folks. It's been a few live streams using this setup, and my headphone cable started becoming all kinky and twisted up. All right. What's my favorite instrument? Is it the synth? Umo P3 Plesdian is asking. It changes a lot. I'm a multi-instrumentalist, and my interests, uh, I think part of what keeps music interesting, fresh, and exciting for me is the fact that every couple of years or so, my focus naturally changes, my curiosity and my desire changes. And right now, I'm back to the bass guitar, which was the instrument that I went to school for. It was the instrument that made me want to be a professional. I started as a pianist, learned some jazz piano, and in fact, I did already as a pianist. I already knew that I wanted to be a professional musician. But then I really fell in love with the bass, and that's what I went to school for at the University of Miami School of Music, now known as the Foster Music School at the University of Miami in Florida. And after 2 years there, I went to the New England Conservatory of Music in Boston. It's across the street from Berkeley. It's a more like artsy school, where Berkeley's more professional. Um, I think of it like Berkeley is kind of like a design school, and the New England Conservatory is the art school. So that's kind of how I see them. Like Berkeley is more geared towards preparing professionals for the music industry, and New England Conservatory is more concerned about preparing artists, um, which is why you see more Berkeley students out working professionally. And anyway, but my favorite instrument nowadays is the bass. It's I almost always start my compositions with the bass part. Like maybe I'll do the drums first just to have a rhythmic foundation to play the bass over. I'm going crazy with the gas here, buying basses. I have um, about 16 bass guitars now. You say you have never heard of the conservatory. It's a fairly uh, well-known school, the New England Conservatory. It's actually older than Berkeley. It's been around for a long time. Jordan Hall is one of the most important classical music halls in Boston, and it's the New England Conservatory Hall. I went to the contemporary improvisation department at the New England Conservatory, and some of my co-alumni, so to speak, people who always also went to that department include John Medeski and Dave Fusinski and some other pretty cool musicians. So my drum teacher was Bob Moses, who played with Jaco Pastorius and Pat Metheny on Bright Sides Live in 1975. He's an amazing drummer, amazing human being. Still, we still keep in touch almost 30 years later on Facebook. I learned a lot of microtonalism and more experimental things from Joe Maneri, free improvisation from Masashi Harada. I had great teachers. It was really, really nice to have had the opportunity to have gone to the New England Conservatory. It's an amazing school, and I was very lucky to go there. Cool, Yumo. I'm going to just call you Yumo because the rest of your name is very difficult for me to understand how to pronounce. I see you've played bass for years. Cool. You played bass for years. Yeah, bass is great. I really, really love bass. I couldn't do a whole rant on why I love the bass so much and consider it one of the most enticing instruments. I think it really is the glue that brings the whole ensemble together. It's also the common instrument in most musics. Like there's music without guitar, there's music without keys, there's music without vocals, but almost all music has some kind of a bass, right? Be it a synth bass, electric bass, acoustic bass, bass section, tuba. There's always something doing that role there. So, okay. Anyway, I think I'm blabbing too much. I don't want to take too long today because my girls have prepared a spa day for their mom and me, and they're very disappointed that I had to come to work. But I was too excited about the dub box to not do the live stream today. So what you heard was just me turning on the box, and you heard the spring reverb spring into action. And in fact, I can gently rub it. Oh, you probably want to look at it, don't you? Okay, why don't we do this? I'm gonna face the GoPro towards my face because it's charging, so it needs to stay connected. Uh-oh, I just went into time lapse here. Didn't mean to do that. Video, here we go. Yeah, the GoPro is charging, so it needs to stay plugged in. So I'm gonna try to angle it up so that you can see my face sort of there. And then I'm gonna use the Sony camera that I'm normally using for my face. And I'm gonna try to reposition it in such a way that you can visualize the dub box. Let's zoom out all the way. Maybe I should move it. I want to put it where it's not gonna get in my way. I think this is a good place for it. In fact, I could probably do a little light thing. I have a little light here. It's a USB thing. Yeah, plug that in and give you a better view of the dub box. So again, like I was saying, that's the beauty of changing interests periodically, is that you add things, constantly adding new things to your arsenal, right? As both of knowledge that you acquire, gear that you acquire. So now I'm a guy that can think about putting together an analog uh, effects box to do a dub mix for a reggae, which before I was into Euro rack and modulars, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's what's cool about it, you know. As I have my different phases, um, I get better at different things. Like right now, I'm getting really good at bass guitar. So my bass lines and bass performances and bass sounds are all improving every day, which makes my overall compositions also improve. And that my 3 years of being really focused on the drums made me a better drummer. So now my drumming is better for my compositions. My 7 or so or more, 10 years maybe, of being in love with modulars made me really understand sound design, more experimental compositional processes, and have a nice um, palette of sounds to draw from when I use electronics in my music and so on and so forth. Breeze is saying he still has his white P bass. Ah, I have a white P bass too, man. My P bass. You started as a bassist at age 17. Wow, cool. I was 16. I was 1 year younger than you. Wow, and you were 49, you say, when you started? No, 39 when you started with modulars, and I was 36. Yeah, we're only like a couple of years away from each other in a lot of common developments. And yeah, my P bass is a Mexican P bass from 2017. I've had many basses over the years, but my current batch I really started collecting about then. I had just a black GNL for many years. It was the only bass I used uh, for since I got to Mexico, which was 2011. So from 2011 to 2017, all I had was the black GNL L2000, and then I got the white P bass in 2017, and since then I've been collecting. I have now 16 basses. I have 6 string fretless basses, 5 string basses, short scale basses, headless basses. I have a Stingray, a Jazz, the P. I have my favorite one right now is my Yamaha PJ BB. Yeah, I'm going a little crazy. In fact, I want to do a video about how gas can be a positive thing if you don't let it cripple you, let it inspire you, and you don't spend your kids' milk money on it. Gas can be one very good source of inspiration, and you can justify it if you're making your money with music, and you consider the added instruments, added inspiration, and um, added sonic palette for variety. Because that's another thing. I compose in so many styles, and I'm so prolific. I have to compose a lot of music. If I only had like one bass, one guitar, one keyboard, one drum set, one set of cymbals, I would quickly just start sounding very similar all the time. So I feel justified in having a large collection of instruments because that helps me do my work better, like have more variety in sounds. You're saying Victor Wooten really inspired you with the fretless. Yeah, Victor Wooten is a huge inspiration for me since the 90s. I was into Bella Fleck and the Flecktones back then, and I still love his playing. And I love fretless playing. I'm more of a Jocko guy. I like Jocko's fretless playing a lot, and Michael Manring, and even Pino Palladino stuff on some pop recordings um, back in also the 90s probably. And I have quite a few fretless basses. I have a 5 string Yamaha, a 4 string Ibanez, two 6 strings. One is a Warwick, the other is a handmade MG bass guitars. Beauty of a bass. I should probably show that off. But I think we're talking a lot and not getting into the dubbing. So let's talk about the dub box over here. What do I have here? I have, let me turn it a little bit so you can see it maybe better. And maybe put the camera like in a better position. Oh man, it's awkward over here. I wish I had like a wider angle lens, but we'll get there. Hold on. So let's talk about this dub box here. Sorry to keep you yapping, my bad. No, it's okay. I just, like I said, this is what makes this live stream fun for me. In fact, it's like also said, part of what brought me back to being excited about YouTubing, because I was just starting to feel like, yeah, burnt out with making videos, just producing videos where you're talking to nobody, trying to imagine, um, an audience or whatnot. And nowadays, being able to chat with you guys keeps me, makes it more fun for me. Definitely more interesting, more exciting. Anyway, so this is the Black Spring Reverb, and one of you, I forgot his name. He has a weird handle. Mentioned that the original King Tubby Spring Reverb sound included a high pass filter. So I put a 3-tom modular Steve's 22 MS22 filter here. It's a band pass, but you can, if you put the low pass all the way up, and then you can use the sweep, which is what separates the two filters. You can use that to basically have a high pass. So the Black Spring is going through that filter as a high pass. And then I have the Erica Synth's delay, the DIY delay. It's a mono delay, but it's really cool. It has a tape mode. It has tap sync, reverse, but it's a little clean sounding. So I'm running it through the black low pass gate, the Erica Synth's black low pass gate, to kind of dirty it up. So I'm using the drive on the low pass gate, and I'm filtering some of the highs off, so it sounds more lo-fi. Um, so this is like the long delay, the more rhythmic delay, right? And then I have the Erica synths also, BBD delay flanger. This is an actual analog delay, and this one, when you go slow, when you start wanting to get repetitions out of it instead of a flanger sound, you start getting some of that high pitch whine from the clock that's running the BBDs, the Bucket Brigade chips. So I also put a Moog style filter from Danny Sound over here. So I have 3 effects and 3 filters. Each effect is going through one filter. I find the usual lack of comments a big bummer with doing YouTube. I like comments. Doing the live was a cool experiment. Lots of interaction. Yeah, exactly. Um, Uh, yeah, something happened. I have a YouTube plaque over here for over 100,000 subscribers. My subscriber count grows over 5,000 a month. I have nearly 200,000 now, and yet there's like 5 of you guys here in my live stream. And I post stuff and get like 200, 300 views, 5 comments. So I don't know what's happening. It's my official artist channel that's growing so fast. And I think it's just people that use my songs in the YouTube audio library just hitting subscribe because they like the song, but they don't actually watch my videos or engage with the channel in any way. It's really weird. It almost feels like I'm shadow banned or something on YouTube, because to have almost 200,000 subscribers, you'd think I'd have pretty popular live streams and get lots of engagement and views on my videos, and that's not happening. Um, So, doing the live stream, even if it's just 2 or 3 of you guys here or girls um, chatting with me, I already feel way more engaged than when I just upload a video and like 2 or 3 people say like, "Oh, cool." So, yeah, so this is good. This is a really nice um, change in dynamic here for me. So again, we have 3 effects. One is a reverb, and 2 are delays, each going through its own filter. They are all going out to their individual channels in my audio interface. ADAT inputs 1, 2, and 3. That way I can have more flexibility mixing them. If I need to do noise reduction for one particular effect, it won't affect the others. I can maybe pan them, maybe do auto pan on the delay. There's a number of things, um, I can do that way. Now here I have the Analog Switch 4, and that's getting in 4 inputs from the audio interface, right? 4 sends from my physical audio interface that I can then use the little switch here to send to to select any one of those and send them to one multiple, Analog link 2. And that multiple is going into 3 attenuators. This is the Hamera Labs triple attenuverting mixer, but I've removed the jumpers to make it attenuators instead of attenuverters because I do need them to go all the way to 0 easily. So all the way to the left, you get a silence, right? No bleed or anything. So these are basically my sends. They're like 3 sends on an analog mixer, right? One for the reverb, one for delay 1, one for delay 2, and which channel I'm applying them to is selected by the switch up here. Now, my initial idea. Oh, hold on. Let me see. Somebody saying. Breeze says he finds the usual lack of comments a big bummer. Yumo says YouTube Live is difficult to gain traction for sure. Maybe I should do Twitch. What do you guys think? Is Twitch a better? Do you guys ever go to Twitch for music stuff? I hear that that's like the place for live streaming. Um, but I'm just used to YouTube, and it's where I have a lot of subscribers. So I figured I would capitalize on that audience. It's not really working. Maybe I should start something fresh on Twitch. I find it hard to find people live. They should make it more visible. Yeah, maybe it's just YouTube is not really pushing the lives in the algorithm. And Yumo also says, actually, you might be right about the shadow ban for some reason. I don't see you as a live subscription. I just happened to catch the notification. Yeah, Twitch is not as big as it used to be, says the Invisible Man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Uh, I figure it's win-win here because at the end, whether or not a lot of people show up and watch my lives, at the end I have a song. I have a song that's finished and I have a document. I have a documented process, which is also proof that I did this stuff, by hand, the old-fashioned way, playing real instruments. Um, so just that alone makes it worth it for me to do these live streams. The fact that you guys are here is really nice, and it's a very nice added bonus and makes it more fun. But even, I've done some where nobody engaged, and it's still, I did the live stream anyway, talking to a vacuum or to 5 people who were just lurking. And still at the end, I had gotten some work done. So, at the end of the day, these songs are all going to be hosted in my upcoming humanmusic.org website, where hopefully people will use those songs out in the wild, and I'll be collecting my royalties as I do with other songs that I have out there. So that's the idea. My name is Upside Down. If you look at it upside down, it says Upside Down. But feel free to call me whatever. Upside Down, right? That's obvious. Okay, I'm just gonna call you Upside Down then. Cool. Yeah, there might be some kind of shadow ban going, which is weird. I'm an official YouTube um, li audio library composer. I have an official audio, music channel that they gave me. And I have a lot of subscription, so it's weird that I don't get pushed into the algorithm a little bit more. Who knows what happens? But anyway, okay, let's continue here. So now, the original idea with using the switch was to, in real time, be able to do like maybe in one take the whole dub. So I would go to the snare and do like a snare to the reverb thing, and then I'd go to the melodica. But I think that's gonna make my mind just go nuts. It's too much. So what I'm gonna actually do is just do one take per instrument. So I'm gonna leave the switch in one position, and maybe just use that one position and just actually change the send from here in Pro Tools to decide which instrument I'll be affecting, and then I'll do one pass per instrument that I want to apply dub effects to. And I think that's going to be smarter. In fact, it might even be smarter to, instead of using the sends here, to actually use the little toggle buttons on the switch 4 to send to the effects instead. I have four toggle buttons. I can use 3 of these to go directly and bypass the multiple and the attenuators altogether. But as it's already wired up this way, I think for now, for today, I'm just gonna use it as it is, use it as it's already working. So let's do a test here. All right, here's the song. I think some of you were already here yesterday, so you already kind of know what it's sounding like. We have drums, percussion, bass, guitar, melodica, clavinet, B3. That's the whole instrumentation there. Let me get this microphone closer to my mouth so you can hear me louder. And it sounded like a reggae. It's kind of a generic Bob Marley style, 70s kind of a reggae tune with instrumental, no vocals. And now we're gonna make it more fun by dubbing it out. So the first thing I'm gonna send to the dub effect, I think, is gonna be the snare drum. I like to, at some point, just bring up the spring reverb on the snare and just go pa for once in a while, and maybe the delay as well. So why don't we try that? I'm gonna have to move the camera a little bit here because otherwise it gets in my way. I hope you don't mind seeing it sideways like that a little bit. And so this send is going to line out 5, the physical output number 5. And that is going into my input B here on the on route 4. Is that switch 4? Sorry. And I haven't used switch 4 before. In fact, Joran was kind enough to give it to me so I would complete my collection. It was like one of the few Joran analog modules I didn't have, and this is the first time I'm actually using it in a musical context. I was really happy to have it because it's going to be super useful now. So we have to switch this to B here, the little switch. And if I find that I'm having difficulty using it, I'll probably just bypass the switch 4 today and plug the cable from the computer straight into the multiple. But let's try. Okay, so here's I can see that the snare drum is hitting the send on Pro Tools. So yeah, it's not really doing anything in the dub box yet. So I think I need to figure out, like read the manual or something, figure out how to use the switch 4. So, but wait, hold on. Oh, wait a minute, it's A actually. Number 5 is A, not B. There we go. It is working. Okay. So check this out. All right. We can already hear that when I bring up the yellow knob here, we get that filtered spring reverb there. And I can even manually do a little spring reverb effect here. Now, I have to be gentle with it because I had to really boost the gain on the filter to get a good level for the send. But when I hit it physically, it's too loud and distorts it like in an ugly way. Here, check it out. If I just kind of gently caress it, sounds pretty cool. But if I hit it like that, then you get like the grainy distortion, which I think doesn't sound great. Those great Euro ergonomics. Yeah, right. You know, I'm starting to think I really should just use the outputs from the switch 4, and I'm thinking it's going to be easier than I'm just going to take the outputs from the attenuators here and plug them into the individual outputs of route 4. Oh, this one's too short. This cable's too short. I need to get a longer one. Hold on. I do have some cables hanging here. These are the Analog cables, by the way, which are pretty much the nicest cables in Eurorec land. They're like having Bantam cables, kind of. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull these out because yeah, you're totally right, Breeze. The ergonomics of this are absolutely horrendous. So I think I'm gonna do way better if I use the individual switches, temporary switches on route 4 here. I also need to get the Velcro out so that I can get some of these cables out of my way physically, so that I can get to these switches. Yeah, this already. I don't think you can even see it very well. No, you can't. You can't see my hand. Hold on, let me back this up. Hey, there we go. So here I have the switches. So now our send. In fact, I only need one send, so I can pull all these cables out. Let's simplify things here. All right, so hopefully if I just toggle this now, it'll send it to the reverb. I toggle this, it'll go to one of the delays. I'm gonna solo the snare so that we can really hear this work, or solo the drums. Okay, here's the reverb. Yeah, now let's see if it gets the delay. Yeah, that's delay number 1. I think I want it to be a little slower. Filter it more. Yeah, VCF mode, not both. Maybe a little more resonance. Oh, not that much. And I can even kind of ride the cutoff, right? Right, and so that's the second effect is delay, and here's third one. Yeah, and this is the flanger. Let's make it slower. Cool. That's sounding really nice, actually. The flanger through the Moog filter. I think I can even drive it with the gain on the audio gain, the Moog filter here. Isn't that sounding cool? Oh yeah, this is way more comfortable for me than trying to turn knobs as if I were using a traditional mixer. I'm just gonna use the little toggle switches on. Yep, on the switch 4. This is working very nicely. right, so now it's just up to me. Yeah, yeah, this is why I didn't even sponsored. Yeah, I'm totally sponsored by Joran. Um, Joran is, uh, I always say that if I decide to sell all of my Eurorack, I'm just gonna keep all of my Joran analog stuff, and that'll be enough. Maybe that and my industrial music electronics for the digital side, and then everything would be silver, and I would fit it in one case instead of this huge rack. But I'll never do that because I go through phases, and I'll go through a phase where I'll be in love with all my Eurorack again. Yeah, I know I will. So, the switches have a momentary action as well. Yeah, that's what I'm using. I'm using the momentary action. I'm just flipping them down and then letting them go. Uh, yeah, and it's absolutely the nicest. Um, okay, I saw you got the momentaries under control. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that's working way better than, because it was kind of a hack of the dub mixers to use the sends because they were really using the sends as switches. I know some dub mixers, and basically they just go all the way up and down. They're not really like being nuanced with the knob positions. So these switches are perfect, and they're not clicking either. I'm assuming there may be like a capacitor circuit or something kind of declicking um, system going on there because they're not. They're really quiet. All right, so let's try to do just the snare drum now. Just record some effects on the snare drum. So I need to open up three tracks, three mono tracks here, and they're going to be called uh, snare verb, snare delay, and snare BBD. Snare BBD. And yeah, I'm going to have a lot of tracks here because it's going to be three for each instrument that I'm be dubbing. But honestly, I don't think I need to do more than like three. It's probably going to be snare, guitar, and melodica. Those are going to be my three instruments that will get the dub treatment. The song's pretty busy as it is, so if I just do too much of this ear candy portion, um, I feel like I'm just gonna be cutting stuff afterwards. So I'm gonna try to be minimalistic in the first place and save myself the trouble of having to sort through too much stuff later. So let's do it. Let's listen to the song, and as we listen, I'll be flipping these wonderful little momentary switches here and sending that snare drum to different effects. Maybe at some point, sometimes I'll be gently caressing that spring reverb there to get just this, just that little texture there. And yeah, this is gonna give the whole song more of a vintage Jamaican vibe, and it'll make it sound more authentic and more fun. And then we'll be done with this song. And next week, I don't know what I'll do. I like to do very varied styles. So I've done hip hop already, like an electronic bossa nova. I did a funk tune, like a 70s funk tune last time. This is a reggae tune. Maybe I'll do like ambient cinematic with the modular and the acoustic instruments. That'll be fun. Do drones with the modular, and then I think my upright bass is almost ready at the luthier. It's getting fixed up, so I might play the upright bass with the bow, add that to the drones and stuff. So yeah, maybe we'll do like an ambient cinematic track next time. Or if anybody has a suggestion for what they would like to see me produce, that could be cool too. I could take suggestions, no problem. All right, let's do this. Oh, yeah, first I need to assign the inputs. These are on ADAT 1, 2, and 3. ADAT 1, ADAT 2, ADAT 3. We set low latency monitoring is already activated. Record enable the three tracks. And let's do it. Hold on. I wanna get the tempo of this delay to be more like a triplet thing. Maybe I should use the tap tempo and actually find a subdivision for it instead of do it manual like that. But then again, they didn't have tap tempo. So yeah, I'm not loving this take. I think I'm rehearsing really. I'm just getting a feel first. Uh, let's have a look at what the levels are looking for in these three tracks. Yeah, they're looking good. Nothing seems to be too loud, right? This is as loud as number two is getting and it's still not clipping. The spring reverb here, I got a little, looks like a digital glitch right here. Sometimes has been happening a little bit. There seems to be another one here. Look, that's a digital glitch as well, I think. Maybe. I don't know if it's the fault of my Pro Tools, my Mac Mini, or the PreSonus interface, or the ADAT optical. Well, no, I'm not using the ADAT. Oh, yeah, we're recording into the ADAT. But then again, that's happened as well in normal inputs from the PreSonus. Mainly my rack tom does that sometimes. It's a clocking issue, I think. It's digital clocking issue. It's probably the PreSonus. I should probably spring for a better interface at some point. Anyway, folks, ambient cinematics sounds great, says Breeze. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. And I'll get into some Eurorack as well, which I know my core audience will appreciate. All right, so let's try. Let's first just try to nail the triplety tempo for reverb for the delay, right? So let me just get that even without recording it first. So for that, I'm going to use the upward motion of the toggle. I'm going to have a quick feedback just to do I want that triplet or do I want the dunk, dunk, dunk? I think that's it right there. All right. And now let's check that one. Maybe it could be the faster triplety. There we go. And I think I've tamed the whine with the Moog filter here. That's sounding nice. So gnarly and grungy. The drive is on it too. Yeah, that one's sounding really nice. That BBD delay flanger. I haven't really used much. A lot of these modules, I use them. I made the video and then never really used them. So it's so nice to actually put them in rotation here. Yeah, that's sounding really nice. The other one. Maybe want a little bit more decay and a little more filtering. Yeah. I could even modulate that filter. There's an LFO here on the VBD. And I could put that into the CV in here. And make it subtle, right? That way that digital delay gets a little bit of filter modulation, and it's sounding nice. I like it. I like it. And I don't have to worry about doing it manually. I'll only worry about the sends. All right. I think we got it, folks. I think we got it. Now, I use short cables here. If I use longer ones, I could get them even like out of my way better. But you know what? With a Velcro, I can move them up so they're not in my way anyway. Like this. See? Can you see it? Yeah. See? The art of combing Eurorack cables, like hairstyling them. Right, and notice how important it was to have gated that snare drum. Right, when we were mixing it yesterday, it was a really good idea to use a gate on the snare drum, because now when I send it to effects, we're really only gonna get the snare drum being affected by the effects. All right, let's do this now. I've been blabbing too much today. I think I've been needing some companionship from my peers. I'm hanging out with two little girls and my wife all day. All right, let's do this. Right, but let's try not soloing the drums now. We want to hear the whole song. All right. I think I can live with that take for and the beauty of it is since I multi-tracked it, I can easily edit, cut out something that didn't work so much. Also, as you can probably already tell, there's a lot of noise coming in, I think, from the BBD delay flanger. That thing is noisy. So hold on, yeah, see, when it's acting in slow repetition mode, it, even before the clock whine comes in, you get a lot of noise. It's just the nature of bucket brigades. I'll probably use some kind of noise reduction there because it's going to add up. Maybe I'll leave one of them to act like surrogate tape hiss or something, which might help make this sound vintage. But if I do 3 or 4 instruments, this is gonna add up and be too noisy, right? And I do have the Waves NS1, which works really well for noise reduction. So hold on. How do I just mute these momentarily? Can I, there's no like real practical way to do that right now, except for using the control software for the interface. ADAT 1, 2, and 3. Let's just mute those for a second. Oh, that didn't work. Interesting. ADAT 1, 2, and 3. No, I'm still hearing them. Weird. They're probably going. Oh, I think we're listening through mix 3 and 4, folks. Yep. Mix 3 and 4 is the second headphone output, which I'm using to send to the podcast mixer. Okay. So let's just quickly have a listen to, before we do another take with another instrument. Right, the BBD here is the one that's making a lot of noise. I can, right off the bat, I can have one of the delays be panned more left and the other one more right, and the spring be like gently to the left, just off-centered. And then I can put a noise reduction, an NS1, here on the BBD. Now, something else is also doing noise. I think it's the reverb, right? Yep. So let me do another instance of that on the spring. See? Dead quiet now. Now let's hear what it sounds like when I use the reverb, if it makes it sound too shitty. Not at all. Sounds pretty good. It just gets rid of the noise. That's such a wonderful plugin. Like I'm almost like not hating Waves so much just because of this one plugin. Yeah, I'm hating Waves for their subscription model, folks. It was better when I could just buy the plugins, and use them for years, and then update them if I needed to. I guess you could probably still do that, but they're making it very difficult because they get obsolete too fast now if you don't have a subscription. All right, so these effects are sounding really good. Cool beans. You guys still here? Let's do another 3 tracks here. And we're gonna set them to A.1, 2, and 3 again. A.1, 2, and 3. Let's enable the monitoring again. So we'll come to universal control and open up the monitoring on mix 3 and 4 for, oh man, for the A.dot inputs 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And, you know, we're just going to tolerate the noise now because we know we can fix it in the mix. So we're going to call this guitar verb, guitar delay, and guitar BBD. And record, record, record. And I can even have like the panning be different for each instrument, so not necessarily matching, you know, the panning of the previous take. All right, so let's, oh, now here's the fun thing. All I need to do now is move my send, right? This line out 5. I can just grab it from the snare here and drag it over to guitar, which is over here. And ta-da. That's all I needed to do to now reassign the effect to guitar. I'm liking it. In fact, I can, for the guitar, I can even like leave that spring a little bit longer instead of just use it for single hits, right? Breeze says, yes, hated about Waves. I upgraded my OS and suddenly all the plugins stopped working and couldn't update without buying the upgrade plan, which is money I didn't realize I would have to spend. Yeah, exactly. You and me are not alone, my friend. There's a lot of Waves hate these days because of that. And, you know, I've been using these plugins literally for 25 years. Like some of these, the Renaissance EQs and stuff. So I'm like, come on. Oh, you use the L1? Yeah, I don't use the L1 anymore. As far as like maximizers, I'm using the Isotope stuff, the one on Ozone 10. You can get like Ozone like elements, and that'll already give you the maximizer for pretty cheap, and you don't have to subscribe to it. And if you already have like a Native Instruments plan, that might be included on there. So yeah. There are better things than the L1 these days, my friend. All right, let's do this guitar. No, I just realized that the guitar I think is a little louder than the snare or something, but it's recording the delay too loud. I'm gonna bring it down on my interface here, and we're gonna do another take of the guitar effects. I think I'm too busy too. Like there's already too much going on. Let's make it try to be minimalistic, try to be economical with this. L1 is easy. I don't understand more complex limiters at all. No, it's the same. You just bring down the threshold, and the modern ones just sound better than the L1. In fact, the L2 is already better from waves themselves. It's better to use than the L1. And it's the same thing. Just bring down the threshold, maybe set a ceiling so you're not hitting digital zero all the time. And it's the same thing with the ozone ones too. It's just they're just more modern and better sounding in my opinion. Okay, let's do this guitar take again. Okay, I think that's a good enough take. I'm definitely gonna have to do some editing. This is getting way too busy, but I knew I knew I wasn't gonna be able to resist triggering these things way too much, way more than needed. So I'm glad that I have everything in separate tracks, each instrument, each effect, um, so I can do all the fixing afterwards. It's all right. Let's see. Let's start another 3 tracks here. How's it sounding, folks? Anybody have any comments on how they think this is coming along? Besides that, it's a little too busy. I would love to hear, especially our dub expert, if he's here lurking. What was his name again, Breeze? Huffjaw, something like that. Are you there, buddy? Please tell me if I'm doing okay. All right, so 3 tracks again. These are gonna, one more time, they're gonna be A.1, A.2, A.3. My friend Victor Rice is an excellent dub mixing engineer, and I think he'd get a kick out of this little box I made. I think I'm probably gonna make like a short for Instagram of just a little bit of me doing this dub. That's another cool perk of doing these lives, is they become fodder for other kinds of engagement content. Anyway, so we've done snare, we've done guitar. Let's do melodica. So mellow verb, mellow dli, and mellow BBD. Mellow BBD. And once again, it's as easy as dragging the send 1 channel over to the melodica. In fact, we can now maybe bring down the reverb that's on the melodica already. It's got this plate there. I'll leave a little bit of it just for ambient, because the melodica needs a little bit of reverb all the time, not just the effect reverb. Okay, record enable these tracks, and why not go ahead and play around with panning the guitar effects a little bit, so we're already hearing them in more interesting positions. Maybe we can even bring these down a little bit and put the NS1s on verb and BBD, which are the noisy ones. Okay, let's do this. Let's do the Augustus Pablo. Hoofjaw, yeah, Hoofjaw. Is Hoofjaw here? I think it sounds great. The color of the sound is so nice through the saturation of the modules. Yeah. So, you know, everything is so digital, it's so pristine, so clean when you're recording Pro Tools, that it's a really nice spice to do it this way. Like, there are ways to do it with plugins that works really well too, you know, and you can even simulate the saturation with the plugins. But it's not as fun. This is way more fun, way more interesting. And it puts all this gear I have to use. So let's do it. One more take here. This time it's the melodica. All right, that's way too loud. I think it's probably, I'm just gonna turn down the send, the digital send here from the computer. Let's try that. Oh my God, what a mess. It's it's gonna be a lot of work to actually like clean this up so it sounds where it needs to sound. So it sounds nice. But you know, it's okay. Like I'm giving myself a lot of material to work with during the mix. What I might do is just bring everybody down so there's this underlying texture of effects and just bring up the volume to accent certain moments of individual instruments. That might work, or I might just actually chop it up and clean it up and only let it happen at certain moments. So I've done three now, which was my original intention. However, I'm thinking that it might be nice to have it on the percussion as well, so that some of those timbale hits and splash hits might get um, a little effect too. So that'll be the last take. Um, and we'll be done with all of the recording in this song. And all that'll be missing will be, editing and cleaning up these effects, which I might do, off camera in my time when I do the finishing touches to upload this song. Um, just because it's been a long time already, and I want to have some time off with my family. So let's do three new tracks, or I might just do this with you guys here. I don't know. I might not be able to resist doing a little bit of that mixing. Okay, so this is gonna be perk verb, perk dli, and perk bbd. Inputs A.1, A.2, and A.3. Let's do a little bit of panning here on the Melodica tracks. Bring them down. Volume. I think I'm going to bring down the volume on all of the other effects, so I can kind of focus a little more on the percussion one that I'm about to do. All right. Record enable all three. And oh yeah, we gotta move our send over to the percussion. And aren't you glad that I did a sub percussion track? See? That's why it's nice to have auxiliary tracks with sub mixes. So now I don't have to send a copy to each of the percussion tracks. I can just do it on the sub here. All right, let's do this last take here. Feel free to comment, folks. I'm watching my chat the whole time for observations and suggestions. Here we go. All right. Pretty cool, folks. I think we have it. I think we have it. Now, I must admit that I'm really missing out on the actual dub experience of using an analog mixer because it's not just about the sense to effects. It's also about muting stuff, like in real time. Now, playing the mixer as an instrument, improvising arrangement, where let's just hear the bass and stuff. And now I can do that now during the final mix using automation on Pro Tools, but it's much more of a deliberate, like decision-based approach rather than the improvisational one. If I get like a 8-track fader controller, I could kind of simulate that with Pro Tools. I have a single fader bank, fader. What is it called? It's the PreSonus thing. It's one fader. One fader is not going to do it. So I don't know. I think at the final mix process, I might end up doing some of these mutes. Maybe let just the percussion and the bass and the melodica for a little while. We need to carve space in this mix. It's very, very busy. I think you will agree, but I think that's gonna take some time. So I think we're gonna call this for today. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the dub box so that we can cut off that noise. And let's just listen. I know it's too busy, folks. That's the last thing that needs to be done to this is a final arrangement, mixing, which basically is just making space. It's carving out some silence so that certain cool things can be heard, like can have their moment in the spotlight, moment in the sun. There's a lot of good material here, but it's competing. It's all competing with each other. So that's the lesson here. But let's listen to what we have so far, and it'll be a shorter stream today, only about an hour and a half. And once again, thank you very much, everybody who's been kind enough to join me and hang out. And all right, let's give this a listen. And yeah, I'm gonna spend the time necessary right now to refine all the editing. That's gonna be done probably in my own time, not as a stream. We've done enough streams for this song. It's been a whole week. It's been 4 streams. We'll move on to the ambient cinematic next week. And in the meantime, today, this will be it. So let's have a listen from the beginning and call it. Cool beans. You know, already just having toned the volumes down a bit and done the panning and noise reduction, I feel like it already works as like this background texture that gives it a nice feel. But indeed, as Breeze mentioned, um, this is more reggae than dub. Yeah, the dub element is a little flavor, right? It's not a dub song, it's more a reggae song, an instrumental reggae song. And considering how much is going on in the track, it's not that bad in terms of being busy. I agree, and I thank you for your kind, your charitable observation. Um, but yeah, it does need some cleanup. I mean, it could probably this song could have been done after the clavinet take with a little bit of reverb, and it would have sounded like a pretty decent reggae. But we kept going, and we added Hammond organ and percussion and and all the dub stuff because it's fun. We don't want to leave this song. We want to keep working on it, making it better and better and better. That's what happens, right? But yeah, I'm definitely gonna, with a clear mind, have to step back from it a while, come back to it with fresh ears, and do a final mix where I will be probably culling some stuff and creating some more silences and sparseness for certain moments. And that's just gonna, help bring out some of the cool elements. Um, some really cool things that are happening are not being noticeable because they're covered up by something else, right? So that's probably going to be at another hour or two of work before I publish this final version of this song. But I think for the live streams, for as far as you guys following along with my process, this has been enough, and we can move on to another song next week. Let's have a look at my folder. How much do we have already? Um, Human music. So we have live stream one. I never finished. It was this improvisation I did with piano and I think synth and maybe drums. And it actually sounded okay. It's something we can revisit. And then I did the hip hop. Yeah, composing live two, hip hop. Then we did the layered improv, which was kind of like a rock and roll thing where I just played drums freely and continued with the other instruments. There's the bossa, there's the blues, there's the funk, there's the reggae, and there's the one that electronic song that I did using the Simple Touch synthesizer, which is something I'll be doing occasionally when I have gear to review. I'll probably just include that gear into a live stream and then we'll do an edit of that. I already published the edit of the Simple Touch video, so instead of a 4-hour live stream, 2-day live stream, it's now a 40-minute video that you can watch on my channel. And it hasn't gotten a lot of traction. I thought it would get more. So, if you're interested, go check out the videos on my channel and see the Simple Touch video where Edgar did a fine job editing. It's not just a time edit. He's also like focusing on different cameras, synchronizing things a little better, um, and adding some like meme, jokey kind of things, some beauty shots, some product shots of the synthesizer. So yeah, we're trying to make these edits look more professional, more like produced content. And we don't, I'm doing these live streams almost every day and they're long. So I don't think we're going to be able to do edits of every song. We're going to focus on the ones that are about gear, right? So cool. Kenneth says, mix the tracks like you're mixing the colors of life with passion and purpose. That's beautiful. I think that's a great comment to end the stream today with. Mix the tracks like you're mixing the colors of life with passion and purpose. Thank you very much, Kenneth. You have. Bree says it's been a couple of very fun streams to experience. Thanks for sharing everything. Enjoy the rest of the spa day. I will indeed. And yeah, Thanks again, folks. See you again probably on Monday as we start a new song, which will probably, unless I change my mind and decide to do something else, will probably be a cinematic live stream heavily featuring the modular synthesizer.